And welcome to another edition of the Lock and Load Show. And here we are once again. I'm broadcasting from the Big Island and with my friends in Michigan across the interwebs. And let's see. So the breaking news we have today, get my breaking news sound effect, is a judge dismissed Stormy Daniels' lawsuit against Trump's tweet that she didn't like, saying he was a con job or something. And so apparently there is still free speech allowed in America. And I think the main purpose of her lawsuit was to promote her increased viewership of her sex videos. And I think so in that sense, she, without winning the case, she achieved her mission. Because nobody knew who Stormy Daniels was before she filed her lawsuit. And now a lot of people have seen her have sex on tape. It's a whole girls on. Didn't Duran do a song called "Girls on Film"? Anyway, where's the? That's how that ends. Before we get into the main topic, do you guys have any opinion on the whole thing with the Saudi journalist who was apparently chopped into fish bait in Turkey? Khashoggi.
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, so apparently a Saudi journalist who worked for the Washington Post, a Saudi citizen who worked for the Washington Post, was, as a journalist, was in some limited capacity, was was summoned to, when he was in Turkey, to visit the Saudi consulate in Turkey, and there's video of him going in and none of him coming out. So, as far as anybody knows, so far, some kind of team was sent in to get him, and Trump talked to King Salman of Saudi Arabia, and King says he didn't know anything about it. They do have, in the Arab world, honor killings. So if you insult the king, I suppose you could get killed by people without the king even knowing it. But it would be kind of dumb to go to a consulate that's monitored by surveillance. And if you were planning on just killing him, that'd be like, you could pick a lot smarter place to do it than right there. But I guess we'll find out what happened. The whole thing is people want sanctions against Saudi Arabia because you can't kill a journalist, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Trump doesn't have journalists killed. He just says you're fake news. He doesn't have them chopped into fish bait. And
wait, it was a Saudi citizen killed in a Saudi consulate?
Yeah, so Saudi territory, yeah, in their consulate in Turkey.
So what's the big deal? Who cares?
Everybody, every journalist, it's the Twitter sphere. Twitter's gone mad. They want U.S. sanctions against Saudi Arabia and
why? It wasn't an American. We don't care.
It's the whole journalists. Lots of journalists are getting killed, and it's really because they want to bust up the whole thing. We have sanctions against Iran. We're trying to have an embargo against, so nobody on the planet buys oil from Iran, because if they do, the Treasury Department will not do business with whatever country does that. So that's just a big stick that they're wielding right now. And so they want, and Saudi Arabia said they'll make up any oil shortfall. So if Saudi Arabia gets pissed off because we don't want to sell them our arms anymore, which we do, because money, and or when they have some kind of sanctions against Saudi Arabia, I mean, they could just dump their collection of U.S. Treasury bonds, or just reduce their output of oil, and then oil prices might fly up. But they haven't done that. They didn't do that today, in spite of the rumor that oil could hit $400 a barrel if Saudi Arabia stops pumping oil. But yeah, it's just a the whole world's just wiggling and waggling and going crazy. Which brings us to the topic of bunkers and sandbags and bomb shelters and stuff like that. So I started off by asking Squib what, as far as the fighting holes, he said they weren't foxholes, and the Marines, they dug. He said the Army digs foxholes, the Marine digs fighting hole. And then we talked about the different kinds of shovels you were using to do it. And then I started looking for sandbags and trifold shovels on Sportsman's Guide online. And then we kind of, I don't know, got off topic or something. How long does it take for you to dig a fighting hole?
Depends on how hard the ground is.
Does the temperature affect it? Like in Michigan?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's frozen, the frost line here is 42 inches. So in the dead of winter, supposedly the ground is hard as a rock, all the way down to 42 inches. So that's something you have to take into account when you're burying something underground. That the cold will get that far down.
Did you want to talk, Dusty?
I was just going to ask if I could use my backhoe. Shovels don't fit my hand very well.
You want to use a backhoe just to dig a fighting hole? Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. Shovels don't fit my hand very well.
Well, we could get into Anderson shelters, but I want to just ask about the fighting hole first. I don't know if you can dig with just, probably you could. From with a backhoe, I mean. So,
it'd be easier with the backhoe. Backhoe ain't held back by frozen ground, that's for sure.
So, but how long would it take you with a shovel, though, given just normal conditions?
Boy. I'll say an hour.
No
an hour?
Way.
Well, I mean, digging is hard work, you know. Digging a hole in the ground. I mean, I did that when I was a kid, but I mean, I wasn't trying to dig a fighting hole. I was just a kid having fun in the backyard. And I imagine it's also different when you're trying to dig a hole and you're under fire. The thing that got me started was when I had seen something on the Military History Channel about the Anderson shelters during the Battle of Britain. And basically what those were, and I'm going to do some screen shares in a minute, but they were basically either corrugated iron or corrugated steel little shelters that the government gave out to people in London with gardens. And basically there were three pieces of curved steel that were bolted together at the top, and then two flat pieces of steel, one with a door cut in it, a doorway cut in it. And people would put those in their backyards and then cover them with dirt, and they would usually plant gardens on top of them. And they would have contests, because this was before the war when they started doing this, and they would try and have fun with it and build little gardens that are, you know, who had the best looking planter or whatever. And then when the bombs started falling, it got more serious. But let me do a screen share of that if I can real quick. See if I can find the buttons so we all know what we're talking about here.
Who says you can't have fun with war?
Not me. But then I'm a civilian, so what the hell do I know? And happily so. Let's see, where's the damn screen share button? Here it is. All right, start screen share. So here it is before anybody put it in the ground. So this is basically corrugated steel or corrugated iron. I'm not too sure which it was. I've seen both.
It looks like a culvert.
Looks like a what?
Yeah,
A culvert.
A culvert. And so when they put it in the ground, threw some sandbags and dirt on it, and here's just green grass growing over one. Obviously, these aren't like the modern expensive things that people say. You see people do videos about that are like, you know, $100,000 bunkers or whatever. This was an inexpensive government program. Although materials, I mean, obviously on a mass scale, this was a lot of materials that went into it. And the guy in charge of the program, the engineer for the British Civil Service, was named Anderson, so they're called Anderson shelters. And so these were handed out. They needed some kind of sump pump to collect all any water that got in from the rain. And there's the inside of one, I guess. And whenever the bombs fell, people would make their ways into their gardens and sit it out, and anything short of a direct hit, and you'd be okay. I'm sure it could, if it was steel, I'm pretty sure in between the steel and any dirt that was piled on top of it and sandbags would deflect any flying shrapnel from bombs. I don't know about a direct hit. When my family was in Poland, they were in a concrete bomb shelter, but the cement hadn't yet hardened, and if my grandmother hadn't run out of there in a panic because she left the gas on, and then my grandfather chased her, I wouldn't even. That crazy woman. We're all either gonna live or die together. So he grabbed my uncle by the hand and went running out after her in the middle of a bombing raid. And I guess the Germans ran out of military targets, so they targeted the civilian bomb shelters and took a direct hit, and everybody inside was killed because the cement hadn't set. And so I guess concrete shelters have their pluses and minuses too, but I guess these were really inexpensive and could be done on a mass scale to help keep people alive during the Blitz. And so I was just looked up on Sportsman Guides to see what kind of sandbags they sell. And then we started looking into shovels. Oh, there's a bunch of people in one.
You could build one of these yourself.
Well,
I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, the tops are just bolted together. It would just be, where do you find the steel, corrugated steel that's curved like that?
Tractor Supply Company.
Yep.
The Tractor Supply Company would have a corrugated steel with that kind of a bend in it?
Oh, yeah. That's just a culvert.
Yeah.
That's a drain culvert.
Yeah. And you know what I would do with it, actually, is I would buy a bunch of bed liner. And I would get the kind that comes in a gallon can and roll it on there and coat it with that plastic coating. That way it would be water resistant. And then just cover it with a layer of dirt like it showed there. Maybe, either put a garden on top like you were talking about, or just let the grass grow.
I have one out back that I raise calves in. It's about 6 foot tall, and it's shaped just like that. It's not underground, but it's above ground. And you go online and look up Porta Hut, and you'll see what I have out back that I feed calves and cattle in.
Look up what? I didn't hear.
Porta Hut.
Porta Hut?
Porta Hut.
Porta Hut, H-U-T?
Yep.
Okay. All right. But it was interesting just seeing this. And these were a thing in World War II in London. And I guess they mostly fade into history. Obviously, if you're worried about fallout, this won't give you any protection from nuclear fallout or anything like that. And I guess that's something people are concerned about. they need to spend $100,000 on one of those fancy ones with the air conditioning built in for NBC filtering and stuff. But for this is more like just was for basic protection against, I guess, bomb blasts.
No matter how much you spend on your bunker, it's going to be really hard to make a bunker or buy a bunker that you can deal with stuff like all the human waste, and how it's going to continue to generate power. I mean, there are ways to do things where you can and the water storage, and just there are so many long-term issues with a bunker. A bunker has to be looked at as a short-term option, unless you're talking about on an industrial scale, some sort of enormous underground city or something.
Yeah, I've seen they like sell timeshares and those things, but it's that for like people worried about the end of the world and who have too much money and don't know what to do with it. But yeah, this is obviously was just for short-term protection from a particular like a bomb blast. Like if you're worried about the blast of something like a nuclear blast, you die from the radiation later. But this might be of some use for that. How you deal with the radiation, God help you. But it was interesting just to check these things out because they were a thing and they were real, and they didn't look too difficult to make, and they didn't look incredibly expensive to make either. As far as like the whole thing about a bunker mentality, that's supposed to be a negative, a bad thing, and I guess you don't want to have a bunker mentality. That's what people always say. I'm not sure what that means, but I just thought it was interesting as far as like because all the like military shows or TV series or films that I watch, they always have fighting trenches or bunkers or command bunkers and these were a thing for regular people during World War II, and they didn't look that hard to make. So I thought I'd bring it up, talk about it, and see. Yeah, I guess it really sucks when somebody's in an airplane from 10,000 feet dropping bombs on your city, but I guess this is how they tried to cope with it back then. And like I was saying, concrete bunkers have their drawbacks. The roof gets messed up, and then everything on top of it just caves in. So
yeah, but you can build reinforced concrete bunkers that can take severe punishment. I'm not saying there is an ordinance that can penetrate it. There is, but there's not a lot of things. I mean, you look at the submarine pens that they had in France, all the times those things got bombed and they survived the entire war. And there are a lot of hardened aircraft shelters that are made out of reinforced concrete, and those have some survivability built into them. So
yeah, obviously the concrete has to have time to set completely, which was the problem with this shelter that my grandparents were in, and it got hit before the concrete set, and everybody was killed that was in the shelter. And my grandparents had only run like 50 yards away because my grandmother ran out in the middle of a bombing raid in Warsaw because she remembered she left the gas on in her apartment building, and it was her responsibility to turn it off. And if the bomb went off anywhere near the place, the whole block would blow up. So she ran out in the middle of the bombing raid at the shelter. And that happened to just be lucky, if you could call that being lucky. But that was a bad time. Definitely a bad time and a bad place to be. But the whole planet just went pretty much nuts. I mean, they called it a world war for a reason. Everybody was at war across the whole planet. But I thought these bunkers were pretty interesting. And since how much do those? Did you say you think it would cost from that company, Porta Hut? Without making me go and look. Did we lose Dusty already? Oh yeah, we lost Dusty. Dusty's basically, it's late in Michigan and he needs to go plug himself into a CPAP machine, so I apologize. I'm sure he wanted to be awake in here, but it's one of those things.
I didn't even hear the hangout sound when somebody leaves.
Well, it's Google. I can blame Google for that one. Let me see now. You were talking about shovels earlier. And so...
Yeah, specifically entrenching tools.
Right, and so by entrenching tools, that's any folding shovel? Military folding shovel?
Yeah, pretty much. It's portable. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had full-size shovels. We have full-size shovels and full-size pickaxe, and that would be something you would either have on a vehicle. They call it a Pioneer kit, or you would just have, back at the base. But what you would carry out in the field with you would be like what you're showing here. And that shovel folds into 3 and slides into that carrier, and you can mount it on your belt, or you could put it on your backpack or something like that.
Yeah, here's the belt attachments here. It looks like obviously it's shorter, so you don't have as much leverage as you would have with a big wooden handle.
Right. That's one thing. You don't have the leverage if you don't because they are shorter, and also even though they fold to save space, you hit something with that and watch the thing just bend. It's just, and the military ones are fairly durable, but they still aren't as strong as I'd like. The civilian knockoffs of them are really flimsy.
Okay, so if you're going to get one like this, get a genuine milsurp and not a knockoff, then is what you're saying.
Your milsurp is going to be a lot more durable than the imitation one you get at Walmart. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a shout out to Steve Dennis, who's over up in Waikoloa, about 30 miles north of me. His plane was supposed to land today. I sent him a aloha ikomo mai welcome greeting on his cell phone via text. So hopefully he'll if he's landed and hasn't plugged in his laptop, he'll just call me on his cell phone, send me a text, and we can hook up, go to the beach or something. Let's see. So when exactly did you ever do any entrenching or having to do anything outside of just when you were basic training? I mean, did you ever actually?
Yeah, yeah, but I tell you what, any chance I could get to get my hands on a full-size shovel, I would. A lot of stuff was already dug, and we just occupy an old hole. But yeah, every now and then you had to dig something. So you see those with the handles there. Those, I like those better.
You like the ones with what better?
Like those two right there in the center.
These?
Right there. Yeah, that one and the one next to it. I would prefer that. Yeah.
Folding shovel used. Genuine Belgian military issue. Okay. And here's the Norwegian folding shovel with cover. The handle kind of narrows down in a way that makes me worry, but I don't like when it gets thinner. I like it to stay the same gauge all the way through. Just maybe it turns into steel or something, but It would make me start to think that if I used too much leverage on it on a rock, it would just bust. But I'm not an expert on this stuff. But yeah, so my dad asked me what I wanted for the holidays, and I said, get me an entrenching tool, and we both laughed. So I'll probably just buy one off a Sportsman's Guide. But I have a long list of milsurp stuff like on my wish list on Sportsman's Guide, and it's like I don't really want to drop $500 right now on milsurp stuff that I probably don't have room to fit in my condo. But it's on my list of things to do one of these days after I get out of the condo, got a little more space and a man cave and shit like that. And possibly even a backyard. That's a whole nother problem. Condo living, it has its pluses and minuses. Go for that. All right. Now, the other thing I was showing earlier before we started the show was sandbags. I wonder if they actually, besides sandbags, if they have the damn things that you use, the funnels that you use to fill them up with.
You use funnels?
I've seen funnels. You didn't ever use funnels to put the sandbags under a funnel and then just throw the dirt into a funnel and it drops into the bag?
No, man, that's too sophisticated for some Marines.
I saw it on
the blade on the shovels on the e-tools were so small. Just have somebody hold open a sandbag and start dumping it in, man.
Well, you know me. I saw it on tour. I saw it on Tour of Duty, so I take it as gospel. That's why you're here to like provide some semblance of realism to my mad world, my mad perception of the world.
I'm not saying there isn't some sort of fancy funnel. I'm just saying we didn't have that stuff. We didn't have budget.
Sandbags. Okay. All right, here's some sandbags. I don't see any sandbag. I'd have to probably look up sandbag funnel on the internet and see what comes up. But $17.99 for 25 U.S. milsurp sandbags. These appear to be all drab, and these appear to have some camo pattern. I don't really know if you need a camo pattern for sandbags. You just throw some dirt and leaves on it. Seemed like it would be good enough for me. So they're not too expensive. I've seen them cheaper. I think on Camping Survival. And here's was the 25 pack of white ones. You know, white would stand out. Of course, if you're in, unless you're
not if you're in the snow.
Yeah, not if you're in the snow, which is I don't have that problem here, but in Michigan,
fill them with snow and then they melt.
Well, you fill them for snow, and then you could have a snowball fight. Well, you could build an igloo with them, I guess. I saw like one of those survival shows with actually how to build an igloo, and it was interesting. There were some tricks, but since I'm never going to have that problem in Hawaii, I think I'll stick with the olive drab colored ones. They're the same price, so. So hey, what was it about you were telling me that Michigan doesn't let you have a garden in your backyard or a greenhouse in your backyard, or is it just
no, it's not a Michigan.
Township?
No, it's just a township ordinance.
Does somebody actually?
It's because I have a shed. If I get rid of my shed, I can put up a greenhouse. If I get rid of my shed, I can put a garage back there, but they won't let me have more than one freestanding structure back there. So if I built one of these bunkers, these Anderson bunkers, right, and then put the garden on top of it, it's not a freestanding structure.
What, does somebody like go around and like look for people with illegal greenhouses or something and then send them fines?
The tax assessor is really there just to figure out if they need to raise your taxes or whatnot, and if you don't allow them in the house, they'll actually take a tape measure and measure the outside to make sure your square footage. I don't know if they look at your structures on your property and report you to whoever. But if your neighbors report you, then yes. Like I had a fire pit, and I used to have big bonfires in my backyard. Well, it turns out my yard is too small to have a fire pit, and the fire pit I had, even if it wasn't too small, was too close to the property line, too close to the shed, and blah 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 blah. More or less, I was breaking like three or four rules as far as the ordinance regarding having a fire pit. So, but I had fires there for like, I don't know, 4 years or so, big bonfires, and I mean, you know, all the time, right? And I've got a highway that's right behind my house, and people drive. Nobody said, well, somebody was driving on the highway, freaked out, and called the police and said his house is burning down. And of course, my house was not even, you know, there's snow all over the ground. I mean, there's nothing. What's going to burn? Whatever. Anyhow, you know, the cops show up and all that, and I cooperated, and I said, hey, look, tell you what, I'll just let this thing burn out, and in the spring I'll turn it into a garden. And they said, you do that? I said, if you'll go away. And I did. I never had a bonfire again after that. But I had no idea I was breaking the rules. Now, you know, the ignorance is no blah, blah, blah for the law or whatever. But the whole point is I had bonfires here for 4 years before somebody decided to be a fun governor. So, yeah, it could be my neighbor. It could be some asshole driving down the street. It could be whoever. But it also could be somebody from the township. I mean, there could be somebody from, you know, doing something. Down at the end of our street, we've got one of our wellheads. Our township has 13 community wells, and you know, the township drives through here every so often so they can get to the wellhead and do maintenance work. I mean, you just never know why there might be some sort of reason somebody would report me for having another structure. It's kind of lame, but whatever.
Hey, Oklahoma, welcome.
What's up, guys? It's been a while.
Hey, my Dutch oven arrived.
Oh, did it? Awesome.
Yes. Same deal as you. They didn't bother to wrap it in paper or anything. It was just the box.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got it. Mine, I've thrown 2 batches of cornbread in mine and made some beef stew in it. I'm gonna make some kind of just mess around, make with it.
Yeah, I haven't used mine yet, but it's on my list of things to do in the not too distant future. And I did check out that guy's country. What was his name? The guy with the cooking channel.
Oh, Kent Rollins.
Yeah, Country Rollins something.
Yeah. Cowboy Kent Rollins.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff on his channel.
Man, he's got some recipes that I can't wait to try out.
Yeah, he has a book, a website, a cookbook. I mean, like really into it.
Yeah, he's he actually, I didn't know this until like the other day, but he was on Chopped and Cutthroat Kitchen, and he won one of them.
I swear, if the shit hits the fan, I want to find a cook. I don't want a doctor. I don't want somebody who specializes in nuclear fission. I mean, I want to cook. Something simple.
Hey man, you know what? And I thought about it. That Dutch oven's heavy. It's a heavy beast, but that is definitely something I would make priority to take with me if I have to bug out, because man, all the things you can do with that thing.
Yeah, it looks like a useful item to have. I mean, I'm not going to put it in my bug out bag. It'd be like in a loadout bag. It's too big. I mean,
yeah.
It's too big, and it's too heavy, and it's too bulky.
Yeah.
It'd be in some kind of carry case or just a loadout bag that I'd put it in my either a big loadout bag or like that. I have a suitcase with wheels they can load up. That's
you're gonna need one. I mean, they're pretty heavy.
Yeah. So as far as how to carry it, that's a whole other problem. But it's a useful item. It was, and the price was right. It was like what, $17-$18 for a Dutch oven. And
they're the cheapest that I've seen that were not $17 for about 40 or 50. I mean, they are up there.
Yeah, well, since I got on Amazon, I wound up spending like $100 on Mountain House and August and food stuff. So
yeah.
It was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Go on.
Might as well go big or go home.
It's like when you go to Walmart because you're out of coffee, or you go to the Safeway because you're out of coffee, and you wind up spending $300 or something.
Exactly. You know, it's funny because I just spent in the last week easily $200 just on camo clothing.
Really?
Because I've got I don't know if you guys have been following the channel, but I've got a couple of crossbows, and then deer season just opened on the 1st. So like I'm trying to make it my priority to get 6 deer by the end of the year, and then as much wild pig as I can. That way I can supplement my meat, supplement my groceries with wild game to cut down on my meat purchase. And then in the spring, later on at the end of the winter, I'm going to start trying again for another garden. And hopefully by the end of next year, by harvest, I won't have to spend anything on groceries at all. I mean, aside from,
that would be cool.
Here and there.
That's how they do it in Hawaii. All the people have been hunting, I mean, for generations. That's how they get their food. And so whenever the DLNR changes something, it's a big deal to them. Do you have to wear like blaze orange when you go hunting in Oklahoma?
You have to have a minimum of 400 square inches of blaze orange during rifle season if you're a rifle hunter. If you're an archer, which mine is solely archery hunting.
Okay.
I only have to have a blaze orange cover, which I actually don't know what I did. Hang on, let me take you with me real quick. But you have to have only a
blaze orange right now.
Are you? You only have to have a blaze orange cover, which I have this pretty neat little beanie.
Are your earphones blaze orange, or is that my imagination?
It's red.
Oh, okay.
But archers only have to have a minimum of blaze orange head cover if you're hunting on open property. I am not hunting on open property. I'm not. I have land access permits, and I may use them. Not quite sure yet, but especially if I can't get any deer on the property that I'm on. But because I'm on private property, I do not have to use blaze orange. And I know, well, I mean, I can see completely across the property. And I mean, it's like literally the size of a small house lot, like a small property your house would be on. But it's in the country, and I do have permission from the surrounding owner that if something goes into their property, I can retrieve it. So, and I know that's open land, so I know that I'm going to be safe from other hunters, so I won't have to wear the orange.
Yeah, that's in case people don't know. That's the reason you're supposed to wear blaze orange is so that you don't get mistaken for a game animal and get shot. Because a lot of people, I mean, just even, I mean, that's like a very common hunting accident. Is somebody, they see something move and they assume it's a game animal and they shoot it and they find out it's a person.
And you're absolutely right. And when they say, and in my hunter safety course, you actually hear real 911 call saying, he looked like a deer. I didn't know it was not a deer. He was in all camo. I thought it was a deer. And or somebody shoots and goes through the deer and hits another hunter. So
they want you to put the blaze orange over a deer if you're carrying out a deer that you hunt.
Exactly. That's what my next statement was going to be, and that cover also allows for you to be able to wrap your harvest in blaze, so you don't get confused with as a deer. So to add safety to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have blaze orange stuff. I mean, the thing that I just object to is if you're just sitting out on the rifle range and they want you to wear blaze orange anyway, even though you're not hunting anything, and you can't possibly be mistaken for anything because you're like right where people park their cars for the rifle range and like 2 steps away. But if you're not wearing blaze orange, that gives them the right to like take all your guns and to confiscate anything they want and shoot your dog or euthanize your dog. So it's like you have to, in Hawaii, you pretty much have to wear blaze orange if you're going to be on state land doing anything.
In archery season, blaze orange is not a regulation, but after archery season, which I think that actually rifle opens this week sometime, if not today. It opens this week, I'm sure, because there's not too much of archery before a rifle opens. So, but
not till November 15th here.
That may be correct. You may be right. I'm not sure. It may be the same here. So, but every state's different. For example, I know, like up north, archery opened 2 weeks earlier than we did. So archery's been open for about a month in some more northern states, but it's by state.
Yeah, sometimes your state laws just suck. I mean, I know mine do. So.
Yeah, I'm not.
Each state's got different laws though, based on the terrain or the type of game, or just there's all kinds of different factors involved.
Yeah. And for example, in Oklahoma, if you wild pig is open, it's a nuisance animal, so it's open 24/7, 365. It's like shooting rats. I mean, if you want to go out and shoot rats, go shoot them. If you want to go out and shoot pigs, go shoot them. They've actually even opened nighttime illumination hunting for pigs. You can actually go out and spotlight pigs and use night viz.
Yeah, that's usually a big no-no everywhere. Spotlight.
Yeah, but you cannot. You have to abide by deer hunting season regulations if you're going to hunt pigs in deer season, and you have to have a deer tag, even if you're hunting wild pig during deer season. And the reason for that is because say for example, as a game warden, I walk across and see somebody out there with a rifle and ask him if he's got deer tags, and he says, no, I'm hunting pigs. What am I supposed to assume? The way people are these days, you really can't take, their word for their face value anymore. I mean, so poaching is a big thing, and they don't mess around with poaching at all.
Yeah, it's just sometimes the definitions get a little. It depends on the politics of the state you're in, and it can get a little just overkill, over the top sometimes. But it's important to know and try and follow the laws as much as you can, and so that's what I try and do when I go hunting. But I mean, if the shit hits the fan and you don't have to worry about game wardens. I mean, it's like.
You're right. I mean, once an SHTF situation occurs, the last thing I'm worrying about is
a tag.
To a certain extent, yes, I'm going to worry about infrastructure, but is it going to be to that type of a point? I'm not going to worry about infrastructure on a enforcing laws level. I'm worrying about when is power going to come back on, that stuff. And that's another reason why I'm deciding to go with archery instead of firearm in
power
hunting is because
power had an impact on your decision.
Oh no, SHTF had a big the SHTF situation. The scenario had a big impact on why I'm choosing archery, and for the simple fact that if I go out and hunt a deer and bag a deer, um, you got to be really close to hear my crossbow pop, and it's not loud at all. Now, I mean, if I go out and you hear a pop, a mile away, somebody's out hunting, and you're gonna, if you're starving, you're gonna go try to poach that deer off that hunter, and
I mean, depending on the terrain, like if you get hills and
yeah,
stuff, that'll echo,
oh yeah,
and it'll really travel. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you fire only one shot, they won't know exactly what direction it's coming from. So just don't miss with your first shot, I would
Right.
So
Right.
if you fire more than one shot, then people can figure out where you are. But if you fire just one shot, I don't think it'll be a problem. So, but I mean, people miss. So but yeah, you'll definitely mark yourself if you fire more than one shot. And yeah, crossbow is like what, 100 yards is how far you can hear it.
I think it's like, I think for every 20 yards, it drops 20 decibels. I think I may be completely wrong, but I remember seeing something like that. A guy had marked his decibels at his crossbow during firing, went out 20 yards, went out 20 yards, and I think after so many yards, I mean, you just couldn't hear it. So it's either way. I mean, it's like, I want to say it's like 72 decibels. Right here, if I'm shooting it, I'm hearing 72 decibels. So, the further away you get, you're not going to hear it. So, and then in that 100 yards could be a completely open range with no obstructions for the sound to be dampened by.
Yeah, I haven't got into archery yet.
I didn't either until I was offered 2 crossbows for $150, and
well, that'll getting a good deal. It's like I wasn't planning on buying a Dutch oven until you found that deal.
I mean, you know what? In worst case scenario, just the one crossbow, the cheapest one, is worth $200 brand new at Walmart. So worst case scenario, I'd sell one, and I've already made more than my money back on it. So and that's the Jackal is $200 at Walmart alone, and the Game Crusher from Barnett's website is retail priced at like $500, like $490 something. So that's about $600 or $700 in crossbows for $150.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
You said in one of your videos that they had a really good deal on the crossbow bolts, and if you knew that you didn't know it was discounted until you rung it up, and if you'd known, you would have bought them. Did you bought more? Did you go back and buy the rest of them?
No. I feel bad. And because what happened, I guess somebody took off a reduced price sticker from another bolt, or a crossbow, or not a bolt, but an actual arrow, and put it on that crossbow bolt. And I went, and that's the only thing I can assume, because when I went back, they were not in the bucket. There was a 5-gallon bucket full of them, and I grabbed like 6 of them. And when I went back, they were all in the proper rack for like $5 a piece. So I don't know if I accidentally stole them, or they were just on sale and I just missed out. But they were actually clearance marked, not on sale. So I don't know. And I went back, and I even talked to the guy there in the sporting goods section, and he was just like, if it happened, it happened. I mean, not your fault. I'm not going to cry about it. So
one time, some Russian girls forgot to put their tennis shoes that they bought and take them off the stand, the checkout stand or whatever, and so the checker threw them into my stuff. Tried to take them back the next day when I realized that there were some girls' tennis shoes in my bag of
Oh man.
stuff, and just like, well, thanks for bringing it back, but we don't know who they were. I mean, they were like Russian tourists, right? So
Oh man.
they were good looking too. I would have liked to personally knew if they were living. I'd give them, I'd run their shoes back to them, but
Right.
I just gave them back to Walmart. One inexperience that I had at Walmart just the other day that was not good was when I was doing the self checkout, and they had the it's in the other room. They had the Otis like just pull through barrel cleaners, ripstop, I think they call them, and when I scanned it, it said like you need to be 18 to buy this or something. It's like, okay, wait a minute, it's a piece of cordage. Why do
That
I
is
need to be
very interesting.
18? I mean, because it has the word gun on it, right, on the package.
Oh.
It says gun cleaning or gun barrel cleaning or something. But really, I need to be 18. It's literally just a piece of cordage. I mean,
You know what's funny is that day I was gonna buy a 5-pack of Barnett bolts, and it showed on it was in a spot that was marked for like $18, and so of course if it's in that spot, I'm gonna grab it. If it says $18 for a pack of 5 high-end crossbow bolts, I'm buying them. I threw them in my bag, or I threw them in the cart, and I grabbed the other bolts. Or no, I threw them in the cart and grabbed a couple of bolts, those mossy oak bolts that I have. And I went to the checkout counter and I scanned I scanned the Barnett bolts, and it said, must be 18 to purchase. I was like, all right, whatever. So called the guy that was over it, and he approved it. And I looked, and they were $50 $50 for the pack of 5. I was like, whoa, it was like $48 for the pack of 5 bolts. I was like, what in the world? And I told him, I said, this was in a spot that was marked for $18. He said, I'd have to call a manager over here to I can't mark it down that much. I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. It was probably in the wrong spot. So a day after, or a couple days later, I went and got those bolts, those other bolts for, those other mossy oak bolts. And I went to self checkout, and luckily I went to the one of the aisles that there was a guy standing at the end of, and I told him, I said, hey, come here, I'm going to need you to help me because you're going to have to approve these. And I went to scan those bolts, and not one of them said must be 18 to purchase. So it's like, why? I mean, I got to be 18 to buy a pack of $50 5-pack bolts compared to $2 bolts.
well, if I had the light in here, I'd go get this piece of cordage that's the ripstop, but it's literally just a piece of cord with like some Nomex fabric around it. And why would I need to be 18 to buy a piece of cord? Right. It's because it had the word gun on it, and I was like, do I need to be 18 to buy like a little pint of gun oil too or something? I mean, how can you hurt somebody? I suppose you could use it as a garrote, and choke somebody to death, but I mean, it'd be easier to kill somebody with a can of soup. You just throw it at their head.
I can kill somebody with this piece of kindling, and I found it out in the yard. I mean, you can buy a baseball bat and don't have to be 16. I've known,
or a shovel.
You see it all the time.
Shovel is a classic murder weapon. You don't have to be 18 to buy a shovel.
I got this thing gifted to me in the mail, and this can clearly destroy somebody.
Oh yeah, that'll take somebody's skull, right? Just bash it into like. I mean, you could take out a couple zombies with one swing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the stuff, the regulations they have on what you can buy and what you cannot buy is just ridiculous these days. I mean, it's just
and of course in the self checkout, it's just annoying to have the thing go off and then have to wait for somebody to come over and like when I bought a Mad Max DVD and they couldn't get it to stop. They couldn't. The girl pressed the wrong button and then The whole computer system got stuck on that one screen, and they couldn't get it off, and I had to
Oh man.
rescan everything else on it in a different aisle. It was like after I had finished that. So I learned to always scan the over 18 stuff first. It was just really surprising me that like a piece of a cord to clean a rifle barrel, it was literally just a piece of cordage that you needed to be 18. I was like, really? It's a piece of cord. And anyway.
You know, and those people at Walmart, they're doing their best, you know. I'm not knocking Walmart I'm not knocking the employees at all. But come on, man, when you've got like 4 lanes open and there's a mile-long line outside of each one of them, throw a couple more cashiers out there. But no, yesterday I went and bought a little one of them little knockoff GoPros, Vivitars, I think is what it's called.
Vivitar GoPro, okay.
Yeah, the Vivitar action cameras, so $40 GoPro knockoff. And
I got one off of Amazon. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one you had the problem with, Squib? Yeah.
Yeah, the first one had problems. The second one I haven't. So.
What problem did you have with the first one?
Screen blanked out after a week.
Oh.
So I couldn't see to adjust the settings or anything.
Oh. My problem I'm having with mine is the audio is just so like muted. Like I don't know if there's a setting in there to change the audio or what. But it's just like so quiet. But anyways, the lady at the cashier in the self-checkout didn't know how to take one of those wire alarm things that have it, you know, all the wires around it. She didn't know how to take that off. So we had to scan all of our other stuff before she could, you know, and a few minutes later, she finally showed back up with the camera. And then today I bought a game cam, a trail camera. And, you know, luckily the guy could do it on his own, but he had to go find the tool to release it. That little alarm thing.
So I've had difficult issues with Walmart checkers. I mean, and one thing I've learned that if they obviously don't know how to do something, don't ask them. If you ask them, you know, what if you don't know how to do it? Why don't you go to the manager and get some help? And don't ever tell them that, because it just pisses them off. They just become more determined, even though they don't know what they're doing. They become more determined to try and figure it out. And then no matter how long it takes and how long they make you wait there, wait there. And then there's this one time I just like a couple weeks ago, I showed up and the first thing this Walmart checker was like, first thing she said was she didn't like my linen bags that I brought to bag stuff with. It's like, okay, you don't like my bags. And then she started talking about how Trump was this evil bastard and last and I was just about ready to, you know, just walk away and leave everything on the counter, saying, you know, never mind. But I'd already stuck my credit card in the damn thing. So
oh dang,
and
that would have been. That would have been one of those things where, you know what, it's worth it to go shopping all over again just to piss her off.
And then at the end she says, well, you know, I said, well, I'm like an NRA Republican, and I think you're wrong about everything you've been talking about, and I'm sorry you don't like my bags, but they're my linen bags. And then she said, well, my mother agrees with me, is what she said. And I was
like, wow.
Your mother agrees with you. And so it came, basically, I think the problem that I'm having is that I'm going to ask both of you guys is what, out of all the people you've met in this world, what percentage of them would you say are idiots?
90.
90?
Easily. I mean, of everybody that I've met, I guarantee 90.
Okay, Swib, what would you say the percentage is?
Yeah, I'd say it's got to be up there. I mean, you could put in the caveat that some people are selectively idiots, like they're having a bad day, all of them. But and maybe they wouldn't normally be like that. But overall, I mean, just look at how people drive, and that's there's your snapshot, right?
So are you? Well, you put a number on it.
I'll go with 90.
All right. So according to my that means that there's 90% of the people in the world are idiots. That means only idiots have children because, right?
I wouldn't have put it that way, but
well,
you know,
if 90% of the people on that you meet are idiots, then obviously the idiots are having children, because
you know,
except for the 10% of the normal people.
That's definitely not something I would disagree with.
You're free to disagree with me.
I mean, I'm not. Well, I wouldn't entirely disagree with that. I mean, I just recently had a kid, and but then again, I am 30. How old am I? I'm 31. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot. I can't remember my own age, but no, really, I wouldn't say that only stupid people have kids.
I didn't say stupid. I said idiots. There's a difference. And anyway, it was kind of a play on words.
But your last story about the Walmart checker. Well, my mom agrees with me. You know, that really sets the entire. That's just. How do I say this? That is the definition of what's wrong with these people these days. My mom agrees with me. Well, you know what? That is good for you. My mom agrees with me on a lot of stuff, but we damn sure don't agree on a lot more. You know, and that's what's wrong. And that's my opinion as to what's wrong with people is people are too busy being babied. And they want, you know, we're told all our lives we can be whatever we want. We can change the stars, you know, growing up.
You can't be whatever you can. It doesn't work. The world doesn't work that way.
Exactly. But you know what? That's what's wrong with these people and these kids. And you can see this with these millennials. And I don't know if you'd consider me a millennial. I don't know if that's how that works or what. But that's what's wrong with what I consider the millennials is they're going out there protesting the Second Amendment. They're protesting all these laws, all these amendments, all this and that. You know why they're doing this? Because their mommy and daddy told them they could be whatever they wanted and they could do whatever they want. They think that just because their feelings matter, that they're going to go out and change the. You know, I just as, and you guys know this just as well as I do. I know I'm pro-gun, 100% pro-gun. And let me tell you something else. I'm Mexican, and I'm pro-wall. And most of my family are Mexican, obviously, and they are mostly pro-wall. Because they, you know, it's not because we're Mexicans, so we're just going to side with the Mexicans, and no, that wall's stupid, but no, it's because we have common sense. My brother-in-law came here illegally and then since got his, you know, as a kid, was citizenized or whatever, legalized or whatever. But even he, to this day, is pro-wall. And he was illegal. He got here illegally. And
well, obviously, I mean, I just saw, I got the Sicario 2 DVD and 1 Blu-ray. And I really like those, but I think one point that they tried to make is that smuggling illegal aliens, human trafficking is more profitable and easier than smuggling drugs. Because with drugs, you have to grow the drugs, you have to process the drugs, you have to package the drugs. The illegal aliens show up at the border and to try and cross into paradise, known as the United States of America. And they just give you their money up front to the cartels, and the cartels find some coyote to take them across like sheep, and it's just easier to smuggle and more profitable to smuggle people than drugs. So the cartels are in charge of it, and if you get in their way, they will kill you.
Yeah, they will, 100%. But here's what I don't understand. Yes, here you can make a lot more. The economy is a lot more stable here in the U.S. than it is Mexico. That's obvious. However, what is really free in this country?
Air.
Air. That's about it. And rainwater is not even free anymore. People are getting arrested for rainwater collection. But I recently come across this illegal Mexican, and I was talking to him. We were talking for a little while, and I told him, I said, "So why did you want to come here?" He said, "To have my own house, to make my own money, and all this stuff." And I told him, I said, "Well, let me explain something to you."
The right answer, in case any illegal aliens are watching, if anybody asks you why you came to the United States of America, is because you wanted to buy a "Make America Great Again" cap. That's the right
exactly.
answer.
That's the right answer. I had to sit him down and I had to talk to him. I said, "Listen, but because this is a free country, no, this is not a free country. There's only one thing that you are entitled to, and that's breathe. And you know what? Some people are not." I explained to him that I own this house. I own my other house. I own the property. And if I don't pay my $20 a year taxes, guess what happens to my property that I own outright? I don't own that property. I don't have that property anymore. They will take that property. If I don't pay taxes on my house and my land that I own, they take it away from me. So what is really free? And I explained to him, I said, if you don't pay your taxes, let's say you work and you evade taxes, what happens to everything you own when they catch you? They own it. They own it, and they own you until your debt is paid. And all that stuff that they took, you don't get back. So
what's really funny in the testimony I was talking about on there's a video of the House or Senate. The Senate had a hearing on cryptocurrencies, and they had one academician who was bashing cryptocurrencies and one guy from who was trying to just explain it, who worked for a company that analyzes all the different types of crypto coins. And the guy from the company that analyzes crypto coins says, "Please explain to me. You keep saying that that people that criminal tax evaders are using cryptos or Bitcoin to evade paying taxes because they're criminals. So how do you actually evade taxes using something that is not money? I mean, you keep saying Bitcoin isn't money; it's a scam. So how can you evade taxes using something that isn't money?" and there isn't any way you can do it. So I mean, yes, we have if it's like death and taxes.
You only have two things to do, and that's die or pay taxes.
Yeah, and they're going to get you one way or the other.
Oh yeah.
And avoiding paying taxes is legal. Evading is not. There's a difference. And multinational corporations or anybody that runs a corporation probably has a pretty good understanding, like I did, of how to avoid paying taxes. And it's called deductions. I mean, I deducted everything. When I was running a subchapter S corporation in California, there wasn't anything that I didn't deduct.
When I
unwinded it, the IRS, because I stopped sending them money. So somebody knocked on my door here in Hawaii, says, "How could you stop sending us money? You owe us money." And it's like, "Oh, did you actually look at the taxes I filed?" It's like, and this is, then he just sees a list of deductions. Basically, it's like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah.
So you can call my accountant and he'll explain it to you. But
I asked my brother-in-law, I said, "Man, he owns his own business, and he literally buys a truck, every 4 months at the very least. I think the longest he's gone without buying a new truck is 4 months in the last 2 years. And so now he's got like, eight trucks? I think he's got like 8 trucks and 4 trailers, 2 houses. And I asked him, I said, "Why, dude, stop spending your money and save it." He said, I can't. So why? He said, if I stop spending, then I have to start paying taxes. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I have to have tax deductions in order to not have to pay taxes. I was like, you are one smart idiot. I was like, man, I never even thought of that. I get it now. I was like, man, that is the smartest, stupid thing I ever heard. And you know, he's right. I think he's got 8 trucks, 4 trailers,
I
and
mean,
2 houses.
I deducted beer, I deducted margarita lunches, I deducted.
My!
I did that executive refrigerator. I had a category for anything that went in my executive refrigerator in my office, including beer. and of course, I had to take clients out to lunches. So, you know, I go down to El Torito, like, you know, they'd bring me a gigantic margarita right away without me even having to ask it. It was all tax deductible.
That is awesome.
Well, those were the days, but I mean, those days are long gone for me. But that's how it's done. I mean, I had a Jewish accountant who passed away recently, and his name was Moshe, and he was a pretty good accountant, and he just set everything up as far as, you know, telling me on QuickBooks what I had to enter where, and so you just have to keep your books straight is the thing, which is, it's basically running a business is all about doing paperwork, so if you open a gun shop because you like guns, I hope you like paperwork, because 90% of the work will be about paperwork, not guns.
Yeah.
And so there is a certain point where, yeah, the burden of doing all the taxes and going to pay the accountant and doing everything. I mean, you have to keep your books straight. Anybody that's run a business has always had to do that. And it's just a question of at what point does the government regulations and bookkeeping become so ridiculously onerous that it's not worth even running a business, because it's so much work, you'll never get out from under the paperwork. And it was really funny because it's like if they see a lot of income and if they see all these bank deposits, you know, it's like, well, that's what the IRS guy, when he knocked on my door, she's like, hey man, you're making money. It's like, oh, didn't you even look at my, you know, depreciating scale of deductions or itemized deductions over the last 10 years of 15 years that we filed? You know, it's like, yeah, there's money coming in, but there were deductions. I mean, I paid all the taxes I'm supposed to pay. And once a year I'd go pay my Social Security taxes, but you basically just go down to your bank and write a check to the Social Security Administration, and the bank deposits it, because the banks are basically the government. So
I mean, this is a corporate country. This is not a. I don't care what anybody says. This is not a democratic country.
It's a republic.
Or, you know, it's. Well, I wouldn't even say that. This is a corporate country. I wouldn't say it's Democrat or Republic, or it has nothing to do with political sides. It has to do with, this is a corporate country.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not running a subchapter corporation anymore. I'm just a regular free person. I do feel a little bit freer. It was like running a business is like having a ball and chain chained on just right on your leg, and no matter where you go, it's you. I mean, I could be in Hawaii and I'd be still thinking about Burbank. Would be on my. I mean, the first time I came out here, I did a backroads bicycle trip around the Big Island, and when I was at the last hotel at the Maunalani Resort, and I got a phone call because some guy that had loaned a studio to the mic, or a mic to my studio, because Sennheiser mic, because he wanted to sell the mic, and said, okay, well, let us try it out for a week, and if it works, we'll buy it. And so the week had passed, but I was on a vacation, so I could write him a check. He was like, calls me demanding, you know, money or something, and I was like, well, can't you wait till I get back from Hawaii? I explained to him I was at this very expensive resort. He's like, oh, okay, just call me when you get back.
And see, that's I definitely understand. I mean, I'm not a corporate. You know, I don't have a corporate business. I am the executive director to a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So yes, I do know that no matter where you go and what you do, it's there. It's like, everything you do, everything you think of, well, okay, what if something happens right now and I need to get somewhere? What if it's constantly there. I've got to figure out right now, I've got to figure out where we can get our new grants from. I got to find a grant writer. I got to find this. I got to find that. It's not something that's never not on your mind. That's one of those things that no matter where you go and what you do, it's there. You're constantly working no matter what. So yeah, it's not easy running any kind of business, much less having to do everything on your own. So I definitely understand. It's most of it. Heck, I spent the first year I was even a division director. I spent a full year on doing nothing but on the computer writing SOPs for not only my division but every division in the company as well. And that was just a year of wake up, get on the computer, and okay, this happened. Just going through scenarios. Well, what if this happens? Now I got to write an SOP for that. So it's just constant paperwork, never ending.
I was going to say something and I lost my train of thought. What's really funny is when I moved to Hawaii, I still had some corporate film contracts for dubbing, and so I'd fly back and I used somebody else's studio so I didn't have to be a shopkeeper, and I could I just dumped my overhead and kept my contracts, and I made more money that way. And so the guy whose studio I was using, it was called The Bakery. He was just barely staying in business. It was a big studio. I mean, he had to pay a lot of lease money for the lease on the place, his business. And eventually, I mean, and he was a producer. He produced music and he made money doing it. But I was just in there making ridiculous money, and he wasn't. And it was his studio. And so basically, eventually, he told me he had to close down his studio. He wasn't making it anymore as far as paying the lease rent on this gigantic building for the studio. I was like, well, congratulations. You're going to feel so liberated when you don't have to run this place. It was, I can tell you how it feels not having to carry. It's like somebody takes the weight of the world off of your shoulders, not having to run that business anymore, not having to, make your nut every month of like, for that building, he must have had to make $30,000 a month, and just for lease payments or something like that. And on some of his gear was leased too. So, and I was just paying him like $85 an hour to rent the studio and with an engineer. And so it's like a Pro Tools guy. So, but I was the guy who used to do everything myself. And so I know what it's like to have to do everything, record every actor, voiceover guy, every loop in every film in 4 different languages, and sweep out the place and clean out the bathroom. It's like, and show up at bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 7 a.m. every morning, and like get to go home once a week to take a shower if I was lucky.
Yeah.
I think we lost Squib with this.
Yeah, he bounced out a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about foxholes and bunkers and stuff. So, but anyway, it did remind me a little of your tiny house.
Yeah.
It was, but it was liberating not to have to run that place anymore the way I was. And it was just, I would just fly into Burbank, do the dubs, and I'd fax them an invoice. They faxed me a purchase order. I faxed them, email me a script. I'd call the studio in Burbank, the bakery, and say, okay, book me for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we've got like to do this film in 2 or 3 languages, and email the script to my dubbing directors, and fly in, dub the film, go fly back to Hawaii when we were done, and send in the invoice and wait for a check.
Yeah.
it was so much easier than having to actually go to the shop every fucking day.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
And through traffic, the traffic from Burbank to Burbank from Malibu every day was crazy back then, and it's even worse now. I mean,
I can't imagine. See, I just went to the little. I won't say little. It's well, I mean, according to my girlfriend, where she's from is a small town, but where I'm from, that's a city. About how many people does that place have? Where you from?
what in Kona?
No, her hometown is
Oh,
150,000, and when we first met, she's like, "Yeah, I'm from a small town too." I was like, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" She told me. I said, "That's a city. You got like 3 Walmarts. They have, this. They have like a mall. They have a base out there." I'm like, "That's not a town. That's a city." 104,000, and then we're from where I'm from. We have 800 people, and it's like that's not. This is a small town. I mean, literally, I go hunting, like literally in my back. I mean, literally, like right behind me is my hunting spot, and I live in town. So,
well, there used to be some space behind. Well, what used to be wild space behind the condo is now about to be. It's being leveled to become a Safeway. So.
yeah, that doesn't surprise. I mean, cities are doing nothing but growing. The last time I went to Oklahoma City, man, it's grown a lot. I mean, where there used to be nothing but pasture and just nothing but trees, is now there's a Walmart out there. What else is out there? There's restaurants that are going up out there. More commercial buildings that are going up out there. And I'm just sitting there like, what in the world? Oklahoma City's just growing. And that's all these big towns are doing. And the only thing that these small towns are doing is dying. I think.
Well, when I moved, I got to tell you, when I moved to the Big Island from LA, it was like such a culture shock. It was, and of course now where I moved to doesn't exist anymore. Where I first moved out here on the east tip of Hawaii was Kapoho, and now it's just a black lava field. There used to be
Is that recent? Was that the recent lava the eruption?
Yeah, all the insane. Two subdivisions just completely flattened.
I don't want to laugh, but I mean, it's just
if you want to make money out of here, all you need is a D9. Right now, all that they're waiting. The county is waiting. They have to wait for the lava to cool so they can open the roads, because there's just all the roads were buried in lava, but they can't just get D9s in there until the lava is cool.
I'd like to have the rock is too hot. I'd like to have a D3 for what I mean, if I had a D3 dozer, I'd do a lot of stuff with it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, it's like now the only people that are making money out there are the contractors, the ones that are going out there cleaning up this mess that just happened. And I don't mean to laugh that. Said that,
but they can't, because until the lava cools down, there's not a thing anybody can do. There's like the federal FEMA is waiting to throw like $30 million just at redoing the roads, just clearing off the lava rock off of the roads, and they can't, because they have to wait at least 6 months until the lava cools.
That's insane. See, that's new to me. Like, of course, we don't have volcanoes here in Oklahoma, but if we did, I really wouldn't be surprised. But I know nothing about volcanoes. I'm starting to learn a little bit. I'm starting to learn a little bit about quakes, because
I don't know anything about tornadoes.
Grab a 6-pack and a lawn chair. It's all you got to know. Now, and a lot of people are like, my girlfriend, she's like, "Oh, I always wanted to be a storm chaser, but when it comes down to it, nope, not happening." Yet, I'm not going to have a storm shelter. I don't need one. If a tornado's that close to me, I'm out chasing it. And I've done that, uh, check the radar. The tornado was in the town where she's from. Uh, Went and ate dinner. Checked it again. It was right over my town, and I was like, "All right, it's time to go chasing. Get out and get in the car." And I called my sister and I said, "All right, go ahead and get in the shelter. Take mom and dad, go get in the shelter. Do this." And so, where are you going to be at? Do you want to come over? I said, "No, I'm going chasing." I'm not. No, you're not going to catch me anywhere. I don't.
Like,
That's
in Hawaii. That would be like jumping into the volcano. It's you don't chase the lava chases you.
yeah. It. The only time I probably would consider sheltering is if, and it's rare, but if a tornado hit during the night, of course, that I won't chase at night because it's so hard to see. If you're not looking at a Doppler radar, it's just so hard to see and figure out where a tornado is. So I just at that point, that's when I
If you ever
decide to
get
go
sucked
shelter.
up into the funnel, make sure you have your GoPro on.
I will. I will. Don't think I won't. And I'm gonna have a note inside. I'm gonna have a little note that says, "To the finder of this, please upload it to YouTube."
I didn't have that many viewers when I was alive, but posthumously,
Yeah.
this video will
Hey, it takes one viral video.
mad
It
views.
just takes one viral. Yeah. So yeah. I don't care if it is a knockoff GoPro; it's still going with me.
Right. Well, Squib did have some problems with that particular one, but I never had myself a GoPro. I just have a JVC camera. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about prepping wise for this show?
Yeah. Man, I wish I would have gotten home earlier so I could start it out. Winter's here. Don't do what I did and not get firewood. Get plenty of firewood. I could recently come across literally almost given a couple of crossbows. So that opened the door to me going hunting and also opened to a whole new slew of stuff that I didn't know I needed until it's time to go hunting. But my recent, in the last, I haven't been on here in a year? It hadn't been that long. Close to a year.
I don't know. I don't keep records. Sorry, IRS.
Right.
If you want anything, ask Google. They know everything.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of stuff prep, and a lot of the stuff you can see on my channel, the Oklahoma Prepper, and stuff. I'm still, as far as the house. Here's an update on the house. I've done hardly anything with it. Just mostly, I'm satisfied with the way some of it is right now, because compared to last year, it's 40 right now, but it's about 40 right now. The last year, with the same temperature, I was still freezing, and the wood stove is literally right there. And if you noticed earlier, I kept doing this to make sure that the phone wasn't overheating. But insulation makes a lot of a difference in one of these little tiny sheds. But yeah, as far as what's done with this house, insulation is up, and there's a hole in the wall right there for a window unit air conditioner that I've got mounted into the wall. Prepping is coming a long way better now here recently since I'm able to go out hunting. Now, if I could only figure out a way to get 6 deer in my property while I'm hunting, that would be the magical thing.
Well, I think the trick that's probably not legal is to put bait.
It's legal in Oklahoma. It's legal. I do have deer feed out there, and I do not have a feeder, but I'm going out there as I need to.
What are your dogs barking at in the background?
I have no idea. He likes to bark. There's probably an armadillo or something out there that he wants to bark at. I don't see anything on camera. So he does that all night. He's probably mad because I'm not talking to him. But He's
Okay.
driving me nuts.
I don't want to keep you away from your dog.
No, he stays outside. I tried to bring him in last night. He wanted no part of that. He'd run around and chew on everything in the house, but as soon as I got up, he hit the door. He was like, "I want to go back out," so I just left him out. But no, my surveillance camera's right there, and I don't see anything on it, so my alarm's not going off. So I don't know. But yeah, that's about it. For those of you who are watching this, if you're interested, you check out my channel, The Oklahoma Prepper. That'll kind of catch you up on some of the preps that I've been doing recently, and what I've got coming up in the future. Of course, you'll see on that channel.
All right. Well, I think it's about time for us to get to the chopper. If I can dig up the sound effect for it.
There you go. It's about that time for me too. This has been a while since I've been on your channel. I haven't been around.
Well, thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate
it.
Glad. Yeah, you helped me get a Dutch oven, something I probably would have never had.
Yeah.
Except you found a great deal on Amazon. So yeah, check out Oklahoma's channel. He's got some interesting stuff on there. His tiny house, his different preps. It's worth. Hey, I've got the Hawaii perspective, but there's a whole mainland over there full of preppers. Anyway,
and there's get to the chopper.
We gotta get to the chopper, guys. So we'll see you next week. God bless. Keep on prepping. We'll see you next week.
Aloha, shalom. Stay safe. Keep prepping.
Aloha, ahui ho.